Greetings, this is the Timeshare Traveler. Today is episode 264. Using a timeshare exchange versus an Airbnb. And I really was looking at this from just sort of grabbing that extra vacation. Would you be better off just to grab an Airbnb or use an exchange? And I wanted to do some comparison. It turns out I was helping my daughter get a vacation, and they were on the fence about Airbnb. So a lot of these things came up. So I just thought I'd share them with you because I think it's relevant across anybody looking to compare the two. So first I want to talk about the best features of Airbnb over the timeshares, and then in reverse it, the best features of an exchange over an timeshare exchange over an Airbnb, and then which is cheaper. And this is a relative statement. I did a couple checks here, and everybody might have a disagreement with that about cheaper because it's a matter. I just did some simple comparisons. And then the last thing I wanted to note is when I was looking at Airbnb and VRBO, I'm seeing timeshares available as part of the units, and I'll talk about why that is. So let me jump right in and tell you about, in my opinion, the best features of Airbnb over a timeshare. Now I'm going to talk about the features of over Airbnb over timeshare. I mean, one of the best things I like is each of the locations is unique. That's both a plus and a minus, I suppose. But the variety of locations is just huge. Even within an area, you can get a house. You can have part of a condo that might be part of a condo complex. Or even, like I say, you can potentially even find a timeshare. And the availability is the other thing that really makes a difference. You can pretty much find an Airbnb anywhere. Although I will tell you this, there are more and more restrictions occurring. Having party homes in neighborhoods has been a real negative for some cities, and so they've made it more difficult. The other thing is cancellation policy. I'm going to say it's better in the sense that it's typically 1 to 2 weeks without penalty. It can be less and can be more. That's one of the pluses and minuses all happening at once. It depends. Actually, it's unique to each Airbnb or VRBO for that matter rental. So you have to kind of look at each as part of a search. Oh, I like all the features. Oh, what's the cancellation policy and things like that. And again, like I say, each one has unique, so you need to read that as part of your booking process. Features I like, usually a house or an apartment with a full kitchen, and I'm really big on that versus a hotel. I really like that. Even when I book hotels, I tend to book them with kitchens now. Once you experience that, having a kitchen, it's hard to go with a traditional hotel. I got to choose the type of accommodations. I mean, it's actually your choice, and there's a much greater variety. So that's really nice. Length of stay is more flexible than the timeshare situation. You can rent for as little as one night. However, that's typically more expensive because you're throwing all the cleaning fees in and everything for one night. So it adds quite a big expense. You can book for 1 week or 1 month. Usually restrictions in timeshares are 2 weeks at a time. You can book 30 days, but you can even do 3 months if you want to, and there's usually a discount with that. So that's really the flexibility of the Airbnb is really a nice thing. So let me now switch it around and talk about the features of a timeshare over Airbnb. Now I'm covering the flip side of the timeshare experience over Airbnb. Again, it's all relative. You can debate it, but I find that typically the better amenities are at the timeshares. I mean, it's a larger setup, geared toward vacations versus trying to make a house into a vacation home, which is not always the feature. So you're going to have, you'll have a pool at a house, and it can be great having your own pool. But typically at a timeshare, you're going to have a bigger pool. It might be restaurants and all kinds of things around it that you don't have to go, versus going back in the house. I guess you can make your own sandwiches. And the hot tubs typically are better and more of them. Um, Almost all the timeshares have a fitness center, if that matters to you when you're traveling. It does to me. I want to continue to exercise even when I'm staying at a timeshare. Um, and again, typically they're targeted to have service 24 hours a day. And that's not the case with Airbnb. Even during regular hours, they might be at work, they might be whatever. It all depends, and it's hard to predict. You have to read the reviews to kind of get a sense of what the service options are going to be. Usually they're responsive, but maybe not as immediately responsive as calling the front desk and getting someone right out there right now. The other thing is the timeshares are, larger organizations, and typically they're consistent quality. I don't have to examine each room to see what I like best. That can be a plus, or it can be a negative. It's just like, okay, I can look at the generic photo of the rooms and get a general sense of the timeshare, what things are going to look like. The other thing is there's typically security that's included in a timeshare. I mean, it can be also typically access is restricted to some degree, but they have some form of at least someone patrolling the location. They'll often give you parking stickers so that that they can track if somebody is a guest just stopping in for the day or somebody who's actually got a parking pass, so they can monitor the cars that are in the parking lot. So on the next thing is the booking, typically at 1 week increments, and there are shorter term stays, but the number of those is less. And personally, I like the 1 week stay, and I'll get to that in the cost side of things. Cancellation policy, both a negative and a positive. Typically, it's either there isn't one. Once you book it, you have 24 hours to sort of back out of it, or secondly, you have to book with a cancellation fee that allows you to cancel up to check-in. So that's typically what you'll see. And again, mostly it's an added cost, but you can cancel it. So it's an option that you can choose at the time of booking. And the next point here is which is cheaper, and that's probably a debatable point. But I did some checks specifically because I just had a situation happen yesterday about my daughter looking to see. She was comparing both, and Airbnb. The first thing I want to notice is I've used Airbnb in the past, and the prices have risen lately. Cities are restricting the number of licensed Airbnbs. In fact, I'm based in Napa, and there's almost no new licenses being done. In fact, they're restricting them even more and more. They just don't want party houses in neighborhoods, and it takes away from the limited number of homes available for rentals and all that for people who live here full time. And then now the cities are charging hotel taxes and other taxes. So it's treated like a hotel at this point. And that wasn't the case 2 to 3 years, I don't know exactly when, but 2 to 3 years ago, there was less of that going on. So my price comparison, the cheapest option seems to be the timeshare last call, getaway, whatever words you want to use. That's under $400. In fact, I did a $400 a week 2-bedroom timeshare over New Year's, just this past New Year's. So that's definitely the best price. I can't imagine I could have gotten an Airbnb in a major city anywhere close to that. Then I was doing searches, and the timeshare rental tends to be $100 to $200 a night. There are some that might go a little higher and some a little bit lower, but that was kind of the market that I was looking at Palm Springs. So just to give you a relative specific piece of information. And the Airbnbs in comparable locations, being Palm Springs and the most recent, seem to be $200 plus. So there seems to be still a price advantage to the timeshares, and I think it could be that there's actually, the timeshare companies are well aware of what the Airbnbs are, and they're underpricing them. So I'm seeing in general the timeshare company, and definitely the last call and the sort of, they're just trying to fill up availability, and that seems to be much better pricing than the Airbnbs. I wanted to end with what's interesting to me, is when I was looking at the Airbnbs and the VRBO, I started seeing the timeshares available, and I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. And then I remembered there's a lot of people that rent their timeshares out, and there's a way to offset the maintenance fees. So they'll try to rent out 1 to 2 weeks and cover the costs for their 4 weeks or whatever that they have. And even some of the timeshare companies try to sell you on that, although I've never bought into that. Again, it's another way to find access to timeshares that are sold out. I was able to actually see some of the ones that it's kind of like when you look at the last call, you can almost see the same thing on VRBO. It's typically more expensive because a timeshare owner is trying to rent out their property for more than their maintenance fees, and so you're typically going to spend more than you would do at booking within the timeshare community. But it's a nice option, I thought of, for those people who might want to try out a timeshare. It looks kind of like an apartment in so many ways. You don't have. One of the things I often say is do a marketing program, because you get a really low rate, but you have required to do a timeshare presentation. And if you're just getting started out, that can be intimidating. So you can actually rent it out that way and then go to experience it even before. It's kind of like a stealth experience. They'll still try to get you to sign up for the timeshare presentation, but I've done guests and stuff like that, and I just advise them, no, just say no. And because most people, that's the first question, they're like happy to use it because the costs are lower, but they just want to make sure. And I tell them, don't ever, don't go there unless you really want to go there. And again, the thing about all these is typically it's a 1 week vacation, so it's not typically short stays, although those are available, but usually it's not the rentals from the Airbnb or VRBO. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And now I'll tell you a little bit about my channel. Hi, this is Cliff, and I'm the Timeshare Traveler. Welcome to my channel. The purpose of my channel is to educate those who love traveling in timeshares. I've been an owner for 15 plus years at timeshare ownership. I have elite ownership with Marriott, Hilton, and Worldmark. I have published over 100 timeshare video reviews, and I've published over 95 timeshare tips. I can be found on Facebook at Timeshare Trav, at Twitter Timeshare Trav, and on the web at www.timesharetraveler.com.